channel. If you're new here, my name is Taylor, and this is Taylor Turns a Page, where we all turn pages together and get real booky with it. Today I have a really cool video for you. I'm going to show you all of the 5-star reads that I've accumulated up until the third quarter. We are in the third quarter of 2023, and I surprisingly have got a ton. I would show you all of them, but I've stacked them up and my cat is asleep right behind me, but that's okay. We're going to get all into it. There are so many cool reads in here, and I hope you enjoy what you see and pick at, because these are just sealed with a kiss and an approval rating. 5 stars. Yay! Let's get right to it. Alright, my first 5-star read of 2023 was Meredith Alone by Claire Alexander. I started this book at the end of December, finished in early January, and I still think about it to this day, at least once a week. It had such a massive, massive impact on me. Oh, it's about this woman named Meredith who lives alone in London, and something happens to her, which you will find out, that causes her to develop severe agoraphobia. And the only companionship that she has, if she does leave the house, it's only to her front doorstep and back. And the only companionship that she has is from her best friend and from this man who works with a program that helps people with disabilities overcome their respective needs. And he helps Meredith come to terms with the incident and figure out who she was before so, and come to terms with what happened, and helps dig out her strength. Whew, this book it's filled with trigger warnings, and I have trouble recommending it, but if you are interested, if you want to read any sort of beautiful portrait of healing, I absolutely recommend this book. It has, like I said, so many trigger warnings, so please, please, please take those into consideration. This book is quite a heavy read, and I was going through something extremely heavy back when I read it, and I think that's part of why it has such a heavy impact on my heart. Please, like I said, for a third time, check out the trigger warnings, and oh my gosh, if you want a beautiful portrait of healing and a story of a woman who really gets to know herself, this is a 5-star read. Please check it out. My second 5-star read is another book that I read earlier in the year that I think about constantly still. It is Now Is Not the Time to Panic by Kevin Wilson. Oh my god, if you love the 90s and you love nostalgia for a place you hadn't experienced, a time period you've never experienced, and you love the absurdity of the satanic panic, this book is absolutely for you. Like, ratings aside, plot aside, I would say just go pick it up blindly. It's about 16-year-old Frankie and her best friend Zeke, and what they do to combat their small Tennessee town's obsession with the satanic panic in the mid-90s. I love all three of those things that I just mentioned, so I think I went into this blind. I don't remember how I heard about it, but I was absolutely obsessed with it. I loved the feeling of teenagerdom, you know, when you feel like everything you do, you are infinite, and everything you do has a massive impact. And a lot of it, I'm just really cynical these days, and a lot of it does, but that feeling when you think that everything you do has just a massive impact on the world, but, you know, ends up having an even bigger impact on you as an individual. That's what this book is about, and it blew my mind, and I really hope that you will pick this up, because it's just so much fun. It's a romp. I really, really I had the best time with it, and I really need to read another Kevin Wilson book. Alice Sweeney is known as the queen of plot twists, and she serves plenty of them in Daisy Darker, which is my favorite Alice Sweeney book. Oh my gosh, I devoured this book in a day. This book, oh my god, it's so gothic, it's so spooky, it's kind of terrifying, it's so old school, it's so just, read this on a rainy day. It deserves the vibes deserve to be felt. It's about this family who gathers for their Nana's 80th birthday on a seaside cottage, and some mysterious stuff starts happening. And what makes this, what happens that is spoily, I can't tell you. The family members, what I will tell you, the family members discover that they cannot get off the island, and they have to deal with the terrifying consequences. You guys, this is my new all-time favorite book of ever. This book, I love this book. This is, I can't even, as you see, I can't even form words. I have never read a Donna Tartt book before this book. I haven't read The Secret History. I think yes, I was recommended it on Bookstagram, and I went into it half blindly, aside from the recommendation. And this book absolutely changed my life. I hung on to every single word. Oh, it's so good. Donna Tartt is just a master class in writing. Ah, it's about a boy named Theo who loses his mother in a tragic accident, and he has to cope with the rest of his life. And the only thing that he has reminding him of his mother is this painting that was in the museum where the accident took place, and he gets away with the painting somehow. And his action on that day sets the course for the rest of his life. And oh man, this is a cool. I mean, it's a heavy, 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 heavy book. I was gonna say it's a cool book. Some parts are cool. It's about the New York art scene, and just also, and the love that we all have for our parents, our loved ones, and the love that we have for art and connection and just pure life and living. I can't even, I'm halfway speechless. Please, if you get one book out of this video, I implore you, I said that in my last video, I remember, I implore you to have it be The Goldfinch. This is absolutely as well a masterclass in trigger warnings, but my goodness, this is my all-time favorite book that I read in 2023. Oh my gosh, this year has been crazy for me personally, but at least I found my new all-time favorite book. I just want to eat this book. I'm seconds from eating this book. It is so, so, so good. The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. Yours truly by Abby Jimenez, one of the most popular releases of 2023, and one of my favorites too. Of course, I gave it 5 stars. This is the sequel to Part of Your World, which I read last year and believe I also gave it 5 stars. That is such a sweet small town romance. We all love it, and Abby Jimenez delivered so hard with this book. This is about Dr. Brianna. She has a brother who needs a kidney transplant, and the donor is a central figure in this book. And while Brianna has to deal with the anxiety over her brother's transplant, she has a colleague, Dr. Jacob, who joins the hospital very, very quickly, and kind of makes things, not kind of, totally makes things really, really hard for Brianna's day-to-day life. And she has to, of course, learn how to work with a firecracker of a coworker and try to figure out why this guy is the way he is and why he starts making her feel the way he starts making her feel. This book, I loved the anxiety representation in both Dr. Jacob and Dr. Brianna. I am somebody who deals with generalized anxiety, and I don't think I've ever seen it represented in a book, let alone an extremely popular book. So kudos to Abby Jimenez for that. And if you want to check out this book based on the anxiety rep alone, please do. But this book is also a sweet romance that made me believe in love again. This is a fun book. I really recommend it. It does have some trigger warnings in there, so search those out before you decide to read it. But you will be glad that you did. The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston that I'm seeing go around in the book community right now, and rightfully so, because this book is so much fun. This is my first book by Ashley Poston. I have not, but I own it. I've not read The Dead Romantics yet. This book is so much fun that I really might have to bump that one up higher on my TBR. Oh my gosh. It's about Clementine, who's having some trouble at work and is on the verge of burnout, and she needs some time to kind of sort herself. And so she comes to her late aunt's cottage, but something weird happens. There's this weirdo man standing in the kitchen, and let's be weird. Let's be weird. All men are weird. So there's this mysterious figure of a man who she does not know in her aunt's kitchen, and as it turns out, they're 7 years in the past, which is completely confusing to Clementine, and she tries to sort of fill in the blanks to figure out why she's in her aunt's apartment, and she's like in this like weird time simulation, and who this man is, because the book kind of goes back and forth between the past and the present day, and there's a lot of confusion on Clementine's part, and this book is just so sweet and fun, and it's really, really interesting to follow Clementine on her journey, and as she connects the dots, and also she deals with the grief of her aunt, which I felt was done really, really well, and you'll love to follow Clementine on every single part of her journey, and this was a really fun book. I really recommend it if you want sort of a cozy romance, like nice fall book. This was absolutely an ace read. Friends, this is probably one of the saddest books I've ever read in my life. Laura Nowlin ate my heart and cut it up into tiny little pieces and served it for breakfast. This book it's a young adult book. It's about these two best friends, and something horrifying happens to one of them, and you go into the book knowing what happened, so it doesn't take you by surprise, because my God, if it did, oh, I can't imagine. This book, it talks, my Goodreads review, I'm not even going to cut this clip, my Goodreads review was simply it just said, incomprehensible babbling, and that's how I feel about this book. Oh my gosh, it's about two friends who love each other very, very much, and they go through the intensity of young adult love and who they are to each other, and it's so, if you've ever loved anybody, which I hope you all have, please read this book, especially if you remember just the intensity of high school friendships and relationships, and if you've ever experienced like any sort of grief at all. This book, if you yeah, I'm not even going to cut this clip. Please pick up this book. It has a ton of trigger warnings, and this ending is probably one of the most harrowing endings you will ever read in your life. I recommend it if you want your heart to be eaten and stomped on and served cold. I don't know, but this book is a definite recommendation, and it is 5 stars. My girl, Ellen Hildebrand, if you've watched my previous videos, you'll know I've been mentally living on Nantucket this year. This is her latest book, The 5-Star Weekend, which I've given 5 stars to. It's about Hollis, who is a food blogger who tragically loses her husband, and this loss is significant because she and her husband had been really struggling. So she goes off to Nantucket to learn how to deal with grief and learn to find herself again after this big loss. And in order to do that, she enlists 5 different friends from various stages of her life for a girls' weekend. And since many of them don't know each other, I mean, it's chaos. when you throw in some girl dinner and girl math and girl wine, it's just pink rosé, what have you. This book was really, really fun. I mean, I think most of Ellen Hildebrand's books are fun. I would say that this would be a really, really good introductory to all of her books because it has a little bit of everything. I really enjoyed this. 5 stars, the 5-star weekend. I wish so. Books like this make me wish that it could be summer all year long, and I could hear you guys throwing your pumpkins at me. 5-star weekend, definitely recommend it. Go out and get it.
If you know, you know. This is My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. First things first, I do not recommend this book. I did give it 5 stars, and I have included it in my 5-star reads of 2023 blog. But this is an awful book for the plot. This is a very beautifully written book, and Kate Elizabeth Russell handles such a delicate plot with such care. This book is about a 15-year-old girl and her relationship with her grown bleep teacher. This is a book version of the Police song, Don't Stand So Close to Me, if you know it. I gave this 5 stars because I really enjoy dark academia, and I've been going through a huge dark academia kick in 2023, and I'm going to have it as a theme of a video that I'm just a future video. But this book is it's a heck of a book that I do not recommend, but if you want to read this book, please, 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 I implore you to check the trigger warnings and take really good care of yourself. And this is a wild ride. Very deeply into this book because I just reviewed it for my September Reads vlog, which is up if you haven't seen that already. This is a retelling of When Harry Met Sally. This is You Again by Kate Goldbeck. I devour this book because anything that has any relation or similarity to When Harry Met Sally or Nora Ephron, that is me to a T. I also loved how this is such a caring, beautiful portrayal of how difficult it can be to be a millennial in this garbage can of a world that we're living in right now. I really enjoy Kate Goldbeck's writing, and I think this is her debut novel. I'm really looking forward to more of her book.
Hey friends, it's a few days later, and now I'm going to show you all of the 5-star reads of 2023 that I read on my Kindle. Alright, the first book that really, really just enchanted me in the year of 2023, I read it on Kindle, was All My Rage by Sabaa Tahir. And I think that this definitely should be required reading in schools if it's not already. My Goodreads review, I think it just said, I am devastated by the fact I will never get to read it for the first time again, and I stand by that. I read it in January, which it set ridiculously high expectations for how this year was going to go. This book is about a woman who faces unspeakable tragedy in Pakistan, and she and her husband, she has an arranged marriage, they flee to the U.S., they come to California, and they open an inn, and the story is a tale of family lineage, and later examines their grandson, Sal, and how he runs the hotel, and how he comes up, growing up in the hotel, and we also meet his best friend, Noor, and they have been, just like blood, and they've gone through, like, blood family, and they've gone through life together, and something happens, that's a spoiler, something happens that causes a huge rift between the two of them, and their friendship isn't exactly the same, but they're still there for each other, and this story, it beautifully tells how sometimes you just really have to put stuff aside for those you love, and it was just mind-blowing, and I wish I could write like that. I wish all writers could write, no, I'm joking, I wish all writers could write like that. I devoured this book in, I don't remember if it was just one sitting, but I read it so quickly, and again, I stand by my review that I am just so sad that I'll never get to read it for the first time again. And if you haven't read All My Rage, get all your rage out and go check it out now, because it is one of the best books I have ever read, and I guarantee you, I hope that it'll be one of the best books you've ever read too. If you have read that book, please let me know in the comments, because I want to meet my people. I want to talk about it. Enough of me blabbing. I love it so much. All My Rage, I gave it 5 stars. Billy freaking Summers, everyone. The next book I read in 2023 that I gave 5 stars was Billy Summers by Stephen King. It was my first ever Stephen King book, and how about that? I gave it 5 stars. I know a lot of YouTubers that I admire were reading it, so I was like, I gotta do what the girlies are doing. So I picked it up, and I absolutely devoured it. It's a crime drama / thriller, so it's not like a horror book that everybody's picking out right now, like one of his classics. I love crime dramas, so if you're into it, I think you should definitely, you're not going in blindly by knowing that it's a crime drama, but you are picking it up just based on the fact that you know that it's a crime drama. And I still think about it all the time. I want to explore and see if there are more Stephen King books that are crime dramas. I read The Stand about a month ago, and we know, those who have read it know that it's absolutely not a crime drama. Ugh. That book's you'll hear me talk about it in another vlog. That book's like all on its own. But Billy Summers, if you are hesitant to read more recent Stephen King books, please do not be, and go out, just run and pick it up, because it is just, it's fabulous. It's a masterpiece. Other People's Clothes by Kalia Hinkle. I think that's how you pronounce her first name. That book is right up my alley. Literary fiction about women who don't have much direction. I eat those books up. Otessa Moshfegh, I hope I'm not butchering her name that badly, but the book, My Year of Rest and Relaxation. If you like that book, you will really like Other People's Clothes. This book is about 2 women who are in Berlin, Germany, and they kind of have a David Bowie, Iggy Pop Berlin period, if you know what I'm talking about. They have a John Lennon Lost Weekend, and they just traipse around Germany and explore the music and art scene, and they have a lot of recreational fun. I really enjoyed this book. I don't remember many exact details about it, but I think that sums it up. And if you were into, like I said, My Rest of Relaxation, other books, oh my gosh, oh shoot, oh no, I'm losing it. One of these books that I'm about to talk, Emma Cline's The Guest. If you're into that book, you might enjoy this. What else? You get the picture. Just lost women who are sort of just off the trail for now. This book was really fun. I really enjoyed it. I'm sure I know for sure there are a ton of trigger warnings, so search those out before you check them. Daydreams by Laura Hankin. Oh my goodness, that's our next book. She is one of my favorite authors. She hooked me with her book, If You're Happy and You Know It. And I also read one of her other books. Oh my gosh, that book was crazy. It was all pink. I don't remember the cover was. I don't remember what the book was about. Anyway, The Daydreams is about a late 90s, early 2000s S Club 7-esque, say that 5 times fast, S Club 7-esque band who also had a TV show. They were huge back in the day, and an opportunity arises for a reunion, and we get to see that, and I do believe they don't speak between that time and of their fame and now. And there's an opportunity for a reunion, and we get to see how that all falls out. I hope that's not a spoiler. I don't own the book physically, but I do think you're told that on the back of the book. But this book was so much fun. I really enjoyed it. If you love late 90s, 90s, early 2000s nostalgia. S Club 7, like I said, MTV, TRL, you will really dig this book. It's by R.F. Kuang, one of my favorite books of the year. It just blew my mind. The plot is right up my alley. It was my first book by R.F. Kuang, and her writing was just absolutely sensational. Oh my gosh, I can't say enough, and neither can the book community. I think this was one of the most talked about releases of the year. This book is about two women who are authors. One of them is an Asian woman and the other is a white woman, and they have been linked together. They've been, kind of in the same author circles. They knew each other in college, and there was a little bit of a rivalry there. And something happens to the white woman. Her name is Athena. Athena passes away. I do not think that's a spoiler. I don't have a physical copy of the book, but I do believe it's included on the dust jacket. And Athena leaves behind a finished manuscript, and June, the Asian author, takes it and passes it off as her own, and chaos ensues, to sum that up without going any deeper into spoilers. This book is it's a wild ride, but it's a very serious look at racism, classism, and just the publishing industry and the benefits that white women have, of course, over authors of color. And it's a great book. It's a wild book, and I definitely think I don't even see. This is all these videos are. It's just going, wow. I think anybody would really enjoy it. There are a lot of trigger warnings, so look those up. But this book was just wonderfully done, and I am still thinking about it months later. The Guest by Emma Cline was my first Emma Cline book. I think she wrote a volume of poetry, I believe it is, called Daddy, and she wrote The Girls, but all of those. The Guest was my first book by her. It's about a young woman who gets into a relationship with quite an older man, and things just, that's a really common trope. Think of My Dark Vanessa, but way, way less dark. She gets into a relationship with an older man, and she just really enjoys that lifestyle, and things ensue and happen in this book, and she realizes that lifestyle may not last forever, may not be the best type for her. I personally really enjoy books like this that have similar plots, and that they're really tough. There are a lot of trigger warnings, definitely. I really love this particular book, but if you are not into this plot, I would definitely skip it. But if you want to give it a chance, 5 stars. Definitely recommend it. Next 5-star read I had in 2023. It was the first book in the Beartown series by Frederick Bachman, and I really, really loved it. I didn't think I was going to, because it's a thick book, but I really enjoy books about small towns and sports in small towns, and this book had both of those. And this book was so much fun, even though it's kind of a serious book. I just really felt absorbed in the small town and really started to love all of the people. And if you love the TV show Friday Night Lights, this series is absolutely for you. I can't wait to read the next 2 books in the series. Problem is, every time I go to the library, they're both always checked out. I'm so excited for them to come back in, because I am going to devour it like I devoured this book. If you enjoy any of those aspects, I think you will really enjoy Beartown. The Unfolding by, oh my gosh, I recorded a whole thing and lost it, and I'm so sad because I did it so well. The Unfolding by A.M. Holmes just might be one of my very favorite books of all time, and not just a 5-star read of the year for me. This book was so jarring, but in a good way, to read in light of everything that's happened in the United States politically in the last decade. Oh my goodness. It's about this conservative politician, and we'd never learn his name in the whole book. He's referred to as Big Guy. He's absolutely undone by the results of the 2008 election and John McCain's loss. And he and his buddies, I mean, they're just like those guys at the bar who are drunk off their wits, and they just, come up with all of these things, and they're just the kings of the world, and they're going to just change the world by doing this, that, and the other. And that's what these guys plan to do. They want to come up with their own idealized version of the American dream, and they want to take the United States back from the madness that we have in the Obama administration. And it's just so, it might sound like something you wouldn't want to read after, of course, in light of what's happened in the last decade politically, but it's so witty and whimsical and just nice and silly, and you also get to learn the perspective of the big guy's teenage daughter and how she deals with wealth and being a politician's daughter. And it's such a fun book. I would really recommend it, even though it might seem kind of like, ugh. I mean, it is pure, excuse me, absolutely pure, I'm yelling, absolutely pure escapism. If you want escapism, but you want a lot of it, really, of realism, please pick this up. It is so fun. It's just, oh, it's a romp. I love it. We All Want Impossible Things by Catherine Newman. It's one of the most heartbreaking books you will ever read, but one of the just most beautiful books you will ever read. It's about two friends who have been together their whole lives, just best friends forever, and one of them gets sick and doesn't have a long time left, and so they have to reconcile. It's not only the two women who are friends, I mean, their whole families have come together to become these really tight units over the years, and it's just about last moments and love and appreciation and friendship and the beauty of relationships that we make in our lives and how they shape us and change us. And it's just a beautiful book, and I loved it, and I think about it all the time. It is such a sweet book. It is devastating. It is heartbreaking. It is just, your guts will be out on the floor because you'll be crying so much. That is such a way to describe that, but it's true. I absolutely adored it, and I think you would too. Read Natural Beauty by Ling Ling Long next, and that book was so weird, but I say that with a bunch of love. It's an expose on the beauty industry and realness and filters and everything that comes along with it, and how it just can really, really grip us and just ruin people's lives. And it's so, I can't even, it reminds me of Bunny. I think that should just be a thing on my channel. If a book, I should give it a little reminds me of Bunny award. It's just, you get a little too much of reality. It's also really hard to not go into specifics for spoiler reasons, but you get a little too much of reality, and you're kind of like, oh God, I don't want to read this anymore, because a lot of people, of course, read for escapism, but then something happens, and then it grips you, and you just want to keep going, It's such an interesting read. You'll probably, it's so good. Read it now. I loved it. 5 stars. All right, the last two books that I've given 5-star ratings to in 2023 are Cameron Crowe's Fast Times at Ridgemont High and Betty by Tiffany McDaniel. And I've talked about both of them in a previous reading vlog, so I won't go into huge detail about them. But Betty tore me up and just completely, I would recommend everybody read it. It's so, I would go so far to say that it's a life-changing read. It's so beautiful. And Cameron Crowe's Fast Times at Ridgemont High is the actual take on his, it actually inspired the movie Fast Times at Ridgemont High. He went out to a high school in California in the late 70s and observed what he saw, and of course he wrote it into the movie. And I personally liked the book better. Don't tell anyone. Both of them are great. I don't know whether I should rate Fast Times, because even though it's a fictionalized take on real life, so I haven't really and of course it inspired the movie, so I haven't really decided what to do about that. Let me know in the comments what you think about whether I should actually be rating that or I shouldn't rate it, because I don't rate nonfiction. All right, everyone, there they were, my 5-star reads of 2023. I hope you found some books that you would like to read. And if you've read any of these books already, please let me know in the comments down below so we can start a conversation. I hope you've enjoyed your time in my little internet corner of the world, and come back and join us soon to turn some pages. If you like what you've seen and you want to come hang out with me more and see more of my favoriteest fun books, please consider subscribing. It would mean the world to me. I really hope you enjoyed your time and you have a fabulous day, fabulous rest of your week, fabulous weekend, and you come back to turn some pages with me. Bye. Okay, Ernie's gonna tell you about The Daydreams by Laura Hankin. Why did Mommy love that book so much? Yeah, that's why she loved it so much. I love Laura Hankin, and I love Ernie.